AITA for making my wife choose between me and her best friend? I am 36 and preparing for my upcoming surgery at the end of May. I have respiratory condition that I have been suffering from, and my wife has been very supportive and accommodating of all my needs. She has endured so much by shouldering this burden with me, and I can never describe how much supportive she's been with everything that has been going on with me. The problem is that her best friend's wedding is at the end of May. Specifically on the 27th, and my surgery takes place the exact same date. Now, 27th was not the original date of her friend's wedding. It was supposed to be on May 18th but got changed. Her friend informed us about it on short notice, and my wife wanted to go, but it's a 8-hour trip since the wedding will be held in the groom's hometown. My wife and I discussed this, and I bluntly told her I needed her there for my surgery. She told me that that's her best friend and this will hopefully be her only wedding, and she wanted to attend. She asked if I could get a friend as my support, but I just didn't think this was right. I was even puzzled that she asked me to get a substitute while she goes to her friend's wedding. I asked if her friend's wedding was more important than my health. She argued that there was nothing wrong with it and I won't need her since the medical team will take care of me. Then she said that by refusing I was making her choose between me and her best friend. We went back and forth on this argument, and she insisted she wants to attend her friend's wedding. I told her she was being unreasonable and I never expected her to prioritize a wedding over my health. She loudly yelled, "What do you want me to do? I might lose my friend over this," then stopped talking to me. I think I handled this badly and acted in ungrateful manner, but I think she's the one who doesn't understand the difference, since my surgery is an emergency, and if her best friend is a good friend, then she'd understand, right? So am I wrong for what I said? Info. Have you considered couples counseling? It sounds like your wife might be suffering from caregiver burnout and harboring some resentment. Info. Does your hospital allow people to be in with patients currently? When a family member of mine went in last month, they still wouldn't let anyone accompany him because of the horrid virus. Info. When you say, "My wife has been very supportive and accommodating of all my needs. She has endured so much by shouldering this burden with me." What specifically does she do? Also, is this a condition you have had all your life? Info. When you say your surgery is an emergency, do you mean it's been scheduled suddenly because of a change in your condition? Or is it an emergency in the sense that it's a serious medical event? I'm going to say nah, because you're totally reasonable for wanting her there, and she's also reasonable for not wanting to miss a once-in-a-lifetime event for her best friend. It also sounds like she's experiencing some caregiver fatigue. Has she had to give up other things to care for you? Spending time with friends, going on trips, etc.? If so, she might be feeling a little burnt out and like she really needs to do something for herself. And if that's so, I think if you at least try to arrange to have someone else to support you for your surgery, that will go a long way. For a lot of caregivers, the constant stress of having to put their own needs second can be really draining. Info. Is your wife missing the wedding to sit in her house and wait for a text? My stepdad went in for necessary surgery in March. My mother dropped him off at 6 a.m. and then sat in the living room because she was not allowed in the hospital due to COVID precautions until something like 2 p.m. She was then allowed to go in until visiting hours ended at 8 p.m. Those 6 hours would be a valid reason to have your wife miss the wedding. But if your surgery takes longer, or your hospitals have different rules and she is missing her best friend's wedding to watch TV, That's dumb. Either way, I don't think anyone's in awe. She's not trying to abandon you in recovery, when she can actually help. To go on vacation with her best friend. She cannot do anything about surgery. And you will likely be unconscious and then in and out, intoxicated on medication. Maybe best friend is awe cause she should understand if the wife has to miss her wedding because of the surgery. NTA, in sickness and in health, does not have a temporary suspension due to BFF's wedding clause. I guess because I come from a medical family and had some pretty significant surgeries. As long as someone is around to pick me up, it doesn't matter to me anymore. Making a loved one sit for hours in the waiting room. Unless it's emergency surgery and there are decisions to be made. I think it's selfish and doesn't help anyone. I have a healthcare proxy and a living will on file, and as long as the contact has their phone available, it doesn't matter if they sit in the waiting room waiting, being exposed to all the crap floating around the hospital. Info. Is there any way that you can move this? I would never normally ask this. But truly, it sounds like your wife is burnt out and at the end of her rope. You say that she is kind and has supported you fully. So this is out of character for her. Which probably means that she just needs a moment to be herself. To enjoy life and not feel like her role as a caregiver wife. I completely understand how you feel. But if you read the stories of caregivers' fatigue, you hear them talking about making irrational decisions just so they can be free of the responsibilities. If you have a family member that can attend, I would ask them to attend. Give her that gift of her BF's wedding. If the entire time she has been there for you, you are wrapped up in you and you are expecting her to be wrapped up in you and your health. But when was the last time she got to just worry about herself and not put you first? This is terrible timing, but she probably has been holding on to her BF's wedding as a moment for herself, and the fact that she may not be able to go is just one straw too much. I think your wife is going through it, and honestly, I think if you push and force her to attend your surgery, this may be something that she holds against you for a while. Yes, sickness and health. But what about your wife's mental health? Nah, of course you want your wife there. That's understandable. But I'm the primary caregiver for my medically complex child. So I'm very familiar with caregiver burnout. And you really need to try to see her side of this. Especially given the fact she has been a devoted caregiver up to this point. I'm going to bet that between COVID and your lung condition, she hasn't been able to go out and do much of anything for respite. And she is now vaccinated and was really looking forward to this wedding. I can't say what the solution is, but I don't think she's a horrible person for wanting to go. It's not an indication of her love for you. She just needs a break. Info. Is the surgery an emergency or an elective surgery that wouldn't impact your health if it was rescheduled by a week? I've had 9 surgeries over the last year, and I tell my husband not to sit at the hospital waiting for me to go through pre-op. Then in one case 11 hours of surgery. Then post-op recovery. It's not like I'll be aware he's even there. Let him arrive after I'm in my room and awake. Against the grain here, I think. Nah. Your wife is your #1 support system. And this is another big step in your medical journey that you want her to be present for. I would want Misa to be present if I'm having surgery. I agree that you handled it poorly. But it sounds like you're both under a lot of stress at the moment. In saying that, I don't think your wife is off for wanting to attend her best friend's wedding. I saw in one of your comments that she's never mentioned carer stress. I work in healthcare and I see carer stress on a daily basis. Most carers cannot acknowledge the immense amount of pressure they're under and exhibit many signs of stress, but insist they can still manage until they reach a breaking point. Your wife probably wants a night out. To take a break from life. Since life has been real stressful for you both lately. If she's likely to just be sitting around, waiting for you to come out of surgery and be anxious about you. It could be her way of coping, of being around her close friends. Not that I'm saying she's right, but potential thoughts she might be having. All in all, I wish you both the best and that you can have a calm discussion about the potential deeper issues. Here. Info. What kind of surgery is this? It's obviously not an emergency if it's scheduled for several weeks from now. If it's minor, is there another family member or a friend who can stand in for your wife? Of course, most of us reflexively lean toward wife is in a hole for prioritizing friend's wedding over husband's health. But it's actually not clear that this is what's happening here. If it's a relatively simple procedure that isn't typically difficult or dangerous and there's someone to look after you, I think you would be the AITA for not at least considering sending your wife to the wedding. I've had plenty of surgeries with general anesthesia that weren't worth pulling the spouse card over unless absolutely necessary. By your own admission, she's been supportive of you and is clearly upset over missing this wedding. Don't pretend that she's selfish or a bad partner for wanting to go. OTOH if it is a surgery with some known serious risks, or you expect to need more care at home than a buddy to bring you food and meds until wife returns, then you would not be the AITA for insisting that your wife stay with you. You may be a huge jerk for dismissing her feelings and making her feel badly for expressing disappointment. However, she's allowed to be upset over this. It sucks. It's one big sucky thing after a year of collective suckiness. So no shit she's unhappy. Your surgery is not an emergency. It's scheduled weeks from now rather than immediately. That you characterized it as an emergency gives us an important clue. You said, quote, My wife has been very supportive and accommodating of all my needs. She has endured so much by shouldering this burden with me, and I can never describe how much supportive she's been with everything that has been going on with me. This tells me that your wife would not even consider leaving if you were undergoing a risky procedure that reasonably required her presence. It's the second clue you've given us. I'm going to guess that you've conveniently neglected to mention that you're having an outpatient procedure and are simply so used to having your wife at your beck and call that you can't wrap your head around her not placing your desires ahead of hers for a single day. If you tell us that you are undergoing a risky procedure and will be returning home before your wife returns and will be so incapacitated that you will require around-the-clock nursing care, that's a different matter. But the clues are pointing in another direction. Info. What kind of surgery? Is it something simple like wisdom teeth removal? Or are you talking open heart surgery? Getting an ingrown toenail removed, or brain surgery? There's a big difference here. Regardless, I would say soft NTA because it seems like this would be a serious surgery. Since it's an emergency, I would choose my husband over my best friend. Because my husband is my best friend. I had to forego a best friend's wedding once because I had already booked a trip to Maui. I made sure to send a really expensive gift, and that was that. With what's given, I'd have to say NTA. But I imagine there is more to this story because it sounds ridiculous that your wife cares so much for a wedding. If you have had medical problems for a long time and she has supported you through everything, maybe she is burned out and needed a break. She had been looking forward to this wedding and a chance to be normal again, and now it's all screwed up and she once again has to give up everything for you. If this is the case, you need to be careful. If this isn't the case, and it hasn't been long, then wow, she's an asshole and I'd be rethinking my marriage. Let her have her friend. NTA. I've had 2 major surgeries in the time I've known my husband, and he's been by side for each one. The support of a spouse with your sick is immeasurable. A friend's wedding is lower in priority. Sorry you're going through this. Op. Good luck on your surgery. What do you want me to do? I might lose my spouse over this. Quote. Why does her friend have more importance in her life than her spouse? NTA. Nah, I have respiratory disease. It affects my life every minute of every day and has changed what I can and can't do significantly. I didn't grow up with this condition. I miss out on a lot of stuff now, and my husband is often right there with me. I wonder how much of life your wife has not gotten to participate in fully while being supportive and staying by your side. I have FOMO and regrets every single day, but I couldn't do certain things if I tried. My husband could participate but chooses to sit out of things when I'm there, and I make it a point to encourage him to do those things without me. You need your wife's support, but who is supporting your wife? If it's this friend, you need to consider what driving them apart will do to your marriage. NTA for wanting her by your side. But I think compromising on this one might be important. She sounds like a really supportive person, and she might need to have this one. For her mental well-being. It's a hard one. Good luck with your surgery. Do you have a friend who could be there on the actual day of your surgery?
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.